welcome to Directly to You. It's the Redirect Podcast. It's episode 196, man.
Yeah.
Great time. I am AJ of Redirect. I'm joined by Parker, also of Redirect.
Ooh.
Every week we talk about games and whatnot. It's a good old time. You can support that show by going to youtube.com/watchredirect or twitch.tv/watchredirect. I was like, wait, did I just say Twitter? But I said Twitch. I was right.
You did.
I was right. I thought I was wrong, but I was right. And give them $4.99. You don't even got to do it if it's your own $4.99. You just take it from Jeffy B. If you link your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, you get a free sub. But also you can support on Patreon for a lot of different tiers, and you get a lot of different stuff. And if you support at any place for whatever, tier on the respective platform, you will get the same stuff. So if you are a 1-tier Twitch sub, you get the same stuff, or Twitch Prime also, that also counts. You get the $4 level Patreon stuff. If you're $16 or a tier 2, you get the $16 level stuff. It all works and it stacks. So, but you have to join our Discord, which you can do for the free. It's linked in the description. Click that and you can talk to us about when you get Kirby games off of eBay. Talk about freaking Nick All-Star Brawl and why it failed. All different types of stuff. It's a good old fun time. If you're listening to the podcast on podcast services, you should check us out on YouTube. It's youtube.com/not what am I even talking about? Directly to You. youtube.com/directly to you. And if you're listening to us on YouTube and or watching, you could just download it on a podcast service of your source. I can't talk today. Of your choice by going to anchor.fm/DTY. Just pick your poison, dude, and download it. If you have multiple, download on multiple. That would help. And rate the podcast. Also, if you're listening to the podcast on YouTube, there's a comment section. If you want to chime in, feel free. And if you want to chime in live, you can do that by being a supporter and going to Discord.
That's so true.
Hello. News time.
News time. You did it. I'm curious. Speaking of that, I'm curious. I mean, you saw the Kit and Krista thingy.
Yep.
I was hoping to find out this week if it was going to be part of their podcast, but they recorded. I started listening to the podcast.
I would assume they recorded it.
Well,
earlier.
They were like, we record. Yeah, exactly. They recorded it on Sunday and then whatever. And then, so they saw that I did the little jingle thing on Tuesday, I think maybe. So next week would be the one where it'd be part of it. And I'm just very curious if anything happens with that. I mean, Chris responded and was like, yeah, oh, you're a lifesaver or something like that. So I was like, that sounds like we're going to use this for our podcast, but it was a fun little thing. So we'll see. What a neat little dilly bob. But more seriously, news and things like that. The main thing that we're probably going to talk way too long about. We try not to talk about the Switch Pro and Switch 2 thing.
Yeah, I'm sick of it.
Too much.
I'm over it.
Just because it's been such a long. I mean, it's been since the Switch was announced.
Also, it's like the sort of thing that so many people have set in stone opinions on that they present like it's irrefutable fact. Those are the most annoying things to talk about because nobody knows, but everybody's going to act like they do.
Yep. And I mean, it's all, unless Nintendo hard pivots in whatever they do next, basically most people's definitions I feel like include some variety of everything, you know what I mean? Where it's nobody's like, it's going to be exactly this, and that's the only thing that's going to be, because because it really could be so many different things. So is it an up, next gen thing, fully? It's the
and that's the other part of it. A lot of it is semantics. A lot of it, people will die on the sword of semantics, and that's another part of it that's stupid to me.
I mean, which again, we've said this before, but Game Boy versus Game Boy Color being one generation or two generations that was 20 years ago at this point. And that's still semantics, and it's been done. And people within Nintendo have disagreed. I'm pretty sure it was Iwata was like, nope, those are two different generations. But then you go on their website and the Game Boy line, and again, it lumps them all in together. So that's, all that said, the reason we're talking about it today, which is at least a little bit more interesting of a catalyst, is Breath of the Wild 2. We all saw the trailers. whenever we saw them at various points.
But there's a Breath of the Wild 2 trailer.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's
And
crazy.
that's officially the name too. Breath of the Wild Dose. You got to say it with a little bit of Spanish, just a little bit. And I guess Digital Foundry, for the most part, pointed out that certain stuff in the trailer,
dude, they got fancy clouds in this game, man.
Fancy clouds, anti-aliasing, which I will say, anti-aliasing, I'm all here for. If they can make games run exactly the same on Switch,
anti-alias,
but do anti-aliasing a little bit.
You're anti-alias. That's messed up.
I'm more for Lost and Fringe and the other J.J. Abrams shows, but Alias, Jennifer Garner, get out of here. Past season 3, maybe even
I don't
past season
understand
2.
any of this.
J.J. Abrams had a television program called Alias,
and he's the Star Wars guy. People don't like those.
He is, yeah. He's got some good shows, but then he always leaves. And I know he likes mystery boxes or something like that. Yes,
I've heard that whole spiel.
Yeah, and it's, it turns out various different ways, but specifically Alias. I mean, we're on this tangent now. Here we are. Specifically Alias. It was like a more down to earth spy crime kind of a thing towards like the first 2 seasons with just a little bit of like kind of a bit of a supernatural thing. Not even supernatural. It was like there was this guy named Rambaldi back in like Da Vinci's kind of time, and he was like a super like genius creator guy, inventor or whatever, and he invented this stuff that like becomes like way too sci-fi by the end, and then the whole show is all about that, and everybody that dies in that show comes back. So it's like there's no stakes. So which is why the first episode of Lost, somebody died and stayed dead immediately, to be like, there are real stakes in this show. People don't just come back. So yeah, our family was pretty into J.J. Abrams stuff back in the day.
I just know
anti-alias.
He did Star Wars and that one Star Trek movie or something.
Yep.
That's all I know.
It's true. And yeah,
Breath of the Wild clouds.
Breath of the Wild. Yeah. So anti-aliasing, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so yeah, basically they were pointing out that like this game, despite having the same art style, so I think it is probably deceptive in that like if they're right and this couldn't run looking this way on the Switch as it is now, if that's true, I would have never guessed just by looking at it, because the art style's the same, so like in my mind I'm like, yeah, that looks really nice, but so does Breath of the Wild, so like cool.
Yeah, I would have never cared to look that deep into it.
Yeah.
Like the volumetric shading on the cloud, it's like I don't care.
Yeah, and like it's true, like the draw distances are really long, so that's cool and stuff. So I guess the thing about that then is, because of that, it leads to the assumption, therefore, is this Breath of the Wild 2 either A, it can run on the Switch as it is, it's magic. B, it's lying to us, or these are cutscenes or something like that, where like this stuff looks as good as it does because it's pre-rendered, or because they're upscaling it for the trailers, but in the game it's not going to look this good. Or C, is it actually launching with some kind of hardware, down the road?
I think all of the things are equally as possible. Because like digital they're smart people over there. But Nintendo has shown that they have a different level of understanding of their hardware. Yeah, they are very good at what they do. So I would not be surprised to see some sort of like technical marvel happening here. Yeah. I also wouldn't be surprised to see, and also you got to consider the fact that it's like Breath of the Wild came out, but like the base of that is a Wii U game.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Like obviously the Switch like has enhancements and stuff like that already, but like them being able to like min-max on the Switch for the Switch hardware, I think it's going to like result in better performance across the board anyway, even without new hardware.
Yep.
That said, I do think that we're going to get new hardware, and I think that 2023 would make a lot of sense for that new hardware. And guess what happened? It comes out in 2023. So it does make sense. It lines up.
Yeah. No, I mean, and to your first point too, I think back to, I don't know what year it was, but whenever The Witcher 3 was being rumored to come out on Switch,
Mhm.
I know Digital Foundry did a video at the time, like basically testing The Witcher 3 with on a laptop that should be about the
That
same
had,
power
like,
as the
equivalent.
Switch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And like to see like, could it run on here? And basically like they were like, yes, it could run, but their results definitely ended up being worse than the port that was made specifically for the Switch,
Right.
understandably, because it was a game, it was tweaked specifically for the Switch. So
Yeah,
similarly,
exactly.
Nintendo themselves with a game that they can spend as long as they went on, additionally, I just watched a video last night that was somebody who basically like bug fixed and has been like working on well, they've been working on a mod for Mario 64 that's like their own worlds and stuff like that. I don't know, but within doing that they also were bug fixing certain code that made Mario 64 as it is just run way better on the N64 than it ever did in the past, because people over time understand things more, but
Mhm.
B have unlimited time at this point
Right.
to like do that kind of stuff. And so if at this point Breath of the Wild is being delayed as much as it needs to be delayed to work great, like they basically have not literally as long as they want, but a lot of time to work with a
And
pre-existing
they've been working
engine
on this
and tweak
game
it.
for a long time.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
if you include the Wii U, Breath of the Wild itself, they've been working with specifically this engine for
since
almost a decade.
yeah. I mean, yeah, almost
Yeah.
longer than a decade.
Yeah.
Because like the teaser for Zelda Wii U came out in 2011.
Yeah, right. And theoretically, that's the same engine, right?
Yeah,
As
I
far as
mean,
we
I
know.
would assume so. Yeah, at
Yep.
least in part.
So, I mean, that said, I think no matter what, the game, I mean, we agree, the game's going to come out on Switch for
Mhm.
sure.
Right.
But yeah, to your second point though, let's talk about that some more. If this is, a Switch revision or Switch 2 or anything like that,
Mhm.
2023 makes sense. Spring 2023 to me specifically, especially makes sense. I think I land in the camp, however, of still like it's under the Switch family moniker.
Yeah.
Like it's not a sequel in terms of marketing. It's
Yeah,
just like
the thing is, like, I believe Nintendo more than I do fans,
yeah,
and
right.
the main like argument that I'm hearing about it's really people that are like it's wishful thinking. It's like I don't
Mhm.
like the mid console refresh thing, so I don't think that Nintendo would do something like that, even though they've done it for freaking 3 decades now, at least.
Yep.
Like I don't like the mid generation refresh, so I think that this is just going to be a Switch 2.
Yeah.
Or it's going to be a revision that's not a huge power bump, so that way I don't feel tempted to get this new thing and I can keep using my regular Switch.
Yeah.
But the fact that Nintendo themselves continually say that they are midway through the life cycle of Nintendo Switch tells me that they are not done with the Nintendo Switch moniker. So this is probably going to be another Switch, like I don't think that it's going to be Nintendo Swap or Nintendo Switch 2 or, I don't think it's going to be any of that. I do think that it's going to be another Switch just based off of what they themselves are saying about their platform.
Yep. Yeah, totally agreed. And again, like the spring thing makes particular sense to me for doing that, because I as a consumer, imagining myself and imagining Nintendo, imagining me, which is a little bit something, that like, if it's coming, if they announce a new Switch revision coming, I think their two windows basically to me are late summer or early next year. So like September or March, those are like the sweet spots so that they can either capitalize on it before the holiday and they can be part of the holiday, or it can miss the holiday altogether. And like, I think basically you don't want to add any kind of confusion during holiday times of like, if people are buying presents, just like there are things that are out there, these are the things you can buy, don't be waiting for something else or whatever, unless a large minority of people might just be in the know about it, about the rumors and stuff like that, which obviously is the case. But like moms and dads, I mean,
I feel like most people are not. You know,
Yeah, exactly. Totally.
The
And
majority
especially
of the people
that
on
are
this
buying a
planet
Switch for
have
the first
never
time.
read a video game article before, it turns out.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah. And like, especially 5 years into it, the people that are mostly going to be buying the base Switch in 2022 are probably going to be more like families and, you
Right.
know, more casual users that get it for Switch Sports or whatever, because the more diehard fans that would get the Pro already have it. So, yeah, no, I totally agree.
Or whatever they call it, because again, I'm not.
Exactly.
I'm not on. Like, I'm not saying that I think it's going to be the Nintendo Switch Pro rumors or whatever. I just think that given Nintendo's history and how they are talking about their platform, that it will be another Switch. It will have some like improved hardware on some level. And I think that, I mean, the hardware rumors in terms of like the NVIDIA chip that they've like rumored to be working on it from, that makes sense, you know, like, so that's where I'm at with that.
Where, just for the nitty gritty details of this too, where do you land on there being any exclusives for it? You know, immediately or down the road?
I don't know if I can see Nintendo making exclusives for it anytime soon, but I could see there being exclusives for it through third parties. Sure. Like,
totally
definitely.
Agreed.
Even if they do what we've talked about before, where it's like there's exclusives and then they also have like a cloud version. Like, I could see Square Enix being like, yo, here's the native Kingdom Hearts you guys wanted, even though it could totally run on native Switch hardware if we weren't lazy. Here it is, but also you can play the cloud version if you have an old Switch. You know, like, I could definitely see that happening too.
And I mean, and you know, which does further complicate the semantics thing of like, if there's exclusive hardware, does that make it next gen? And I think we just look back to the 3DS. We're like, nah, it had exclusive stuff, but like the new 3DS.
So did the DSi, you know.
Yeah,
like,
right.
So
I think that's totally within their MO to do.
Yep.
And just checks out. I want to bring up this. So we asked some questions about this, and I brought a couple of them to this segment. Always on Deck said, if Super Nintendo Switch, or whatever it'll be called, isn't both the Switch Pro and Switch 2, then Nintendo loses the console wars forever.
No. No. Because Nintendo is they're playing their own game, and they've been playing their own game this whole time. All Switch 2 or whatever the heck it is needs to do is play Mario, Pokemon, Zelda, and Smash Brothers, and it will sell tens of millions, if not over 100+ million units. Like, performance has never mattered for them. And in the grand scheme of things, for console wars, it hasn't mattered. The most powerful console has won like one time ever. So
totally agreed. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing. It's like, if in terms of losing the console war is a different thing than losing, you know, you as a fan, or losing something like that. But losing the console war is theoretically just about sales. It's not about, like, the Wii was Nintendo's biggest home console, and
it was literally 2 GameCubes duct taped together.
So
conversely, the GameCube was probably, for its time, their most powerful hardware, and it was dead last. So,
and the PS2 was the least strong, and it was
the front runner. Exactly.
So it's, you know, basically, you know, it's a question of, for the gamers, can it run the games that you want to play? And then for everybody else, is it something that has games that are interesting to anybody? And then go from there. I mean, like, I in my mind, anything could happen, of course. I can't see this. I can't see it being what I would call next gen specifically, you know. But I mean, I guess again, that's all semantics too.
The only thing that
how much stronger does it need to be considered next gen?
Whether it's next gen is entirely up to Nintendo. If
Yeah,
Nintendo calls this the next gen platform, it's the next gen platform.
Yeah.
Generations are made up. It's a myth. They're a construct. It's not scientific. If they go up 5 teraflops or whatever, and they call it Switch 0.5, it's Switch 0.5. You know, like that's what it is. Generations are a marketing term first and foremost. All that other stuff again is hearsay.
And like also, you know, additionally, the power of the thing isn't as obviously the power of the thing is important for various reasons. But if we take the Steam Deck or whatever, they could make a Switch that's not as strong as the Steam Deck, but runs games better than it because they're designed specifically for Nintendo's hardware. Whereas the Steam Deck is a PC, so it's got everything's scalable and whatever. And so that, you know, good and bad in a lot of ways. But similarly, you know, like PS3 might be some variety of strong, but it was like terrible to make games for or whatever. So it's just, so it ended up being really buggy and blah, blah, blah. So, or, you know, certain games did. So I think that's the thing. It's like, additionally with upscaling and all that is like, can we fathomably have games that shouldn't be able to run and then they technically run poorly, but then they have upscaling on them, DLSS, whatever, and then suddenly it's like, oh, it looks way better than it has any right to, and that's that, you know. And like maybe that's maybe that's exactly what Breath of the Wild 2 is doing in that trailer, is that the anti-aliasing is just some kind of AI upscaling something or other, and it's accomplishing that.
Yep.
I don't know.
We shall see in 2023.
Yep. Some more questions that are kind of within this topic. Kate MCat asks, do either of you guys have a solid theory on what you think will be the Switch's successor, whether it happens sooner or later?
I think it's going to be this again, but more powerful. And they'll have like some other, you know, like quirky thing, I'm sure. What that is, I don't know, but I would be
a very solid guess. I think.
What do you think the new quirky thing is? Oh, is it VR?
It's 100% VR. Yeah. I'm sure we've talked about this before on here, but I think it's the thing that makes the most sense to be able to get into easily and seamlessly, you know, because it basically just do Labo VR, but like with better things. And if the hardware is better and the screen is better, then like already you've got that experience, like, and the Joy-Cons and stuff. Like you've got basically a whole VR rig set up there. It's just not strong enough right now to do that.
Right.
And then additionally, you know, like this far into the game, there's a huge library of VR experiences. I wouldn't say a lot of them are games. I mean, like they are game, you know what I mean? But like, they're not things that I would play often or much or anything like that. But it's a really easy way to have something that you can tout that exists and is additional or whatever without also alienating everybody else, which there's a risk there of not going too far, like not doubling down on it too much in terms of marketing or whatever, to not run into a Wii U situation where same could be said of the Wii U to the Wii, where it's like, oh, it's not alienating anybody from the Wii. It's doing the same thing, but with gamepad things. And then, you know, people didn't love that, but yeah.
Yep. I can see that. I can see VR, but I don't know. It feels like a Nintendo to do that, you know?
Yeah.
Like if VR was bigger, like again, this is another very Apple thing that Nintendo does. They wait for things to be proven almost always. Like the DS is probably the exception. And Wii, that era, it's like, but they usually like stick around and they're like, oh, okay, this is doing good. We could try to do it better, you know? VR is not that. So like, unless they feel like they like figured out the, you know, like the golden goose with VR, I can't see them doing it. So like either it will be the best VR experience by a freaking light year or they're not doing it.
Yeah, I know. I definitely agree with that. Yeah. And that is the question, is like, I think their first party VR experiences would need to be that much better than everything else that's out there. And I think that even whether they're going to do it or not, I'm sure that they've tried to come up with some stuff for it, just because that seems like the kind of thing that R&D would try among millions of other things.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know if they'd be able to come up with something good enough. And also, like, I don't know if maybe it's something where the problem with VR right now is it's so isolating oftentimes, outside of like theoretically the metaverse or something like that. But if they were able to do the whole VR/AR kind of thing where it's like you can see your screen, but then also you can like turn it, there's a camera so you can turn it off and see around you, or that kind of a thing. But then that adds a lot of cost and a lot of, I don't know that they do that either. So
right. Discord right now talking about Virtual Boy.
Oh yeah.
Alex said they already did VR decades ago, so they're over it. And Eric said Virtual Boy 2, let's go. Yeah, I mean, see that they talk about that a lot though, like because in investor meetings and stuff, like they'll bring up VR and talk about Virtual Boy, and they're like, yeah, like we're not like turned off entirely, but we are definitely like we're out until we figure out a way to be good and be
yeah. So yeah, that's my only like actual hard prediction is stronger guess as far as what it would be.
My guess would be like I'd agree with that, but it's pending on if they find like they feel like they found a way to do it better than everybody else.
Yeah,
like significant.
Right. I guess the other thing,
and not even technologically, just like in a way that it clicks and it makes sense to the average user. Like if they feel like they found out that solution, then I could see this being the case. But if it's just like it's VR, but it's Nintendo, that's not really something that they do.
And I guess to be honest, I feel like the barrier for entry or the barrier of entry right now is more than anything else the hardware, like getting hardware at all. Cause like kind of once you put it on, like you can go to a mall and try a VR thing. Once you put it on,
which is gross.
Things, very. The rest of it is more seamless. Like barrier to entry is fairly low. So I think that's one of the positives that they have is they pretty much have the only machine that exists
solution
that already has everything that you need.
Right.
So like they can add on VR without batting an eye. If they wanted to, so, but yeah, I think it does still kind of hang on whether they have at least first party, they could do their rides from Super Nintendo.
I could see them if they have like the Mario 64 of VR,
right?
They're doing VR and it is going to be the whole thing of the console, Like if it is that game that feels like, oh, this is different, like this is a revolutionary thing. I was playing Super Mario World the other day and now I'm in 3D. I'm doing that and I can go forward on the Z-axis. Sign me up, like that whole thing. But other than that, I don't know. Like I think I could see either way if it is the like Switch form factor and the resolution of the tablet itself is high enough. I could see them doing like a Labo VR sort of situation where it's like an ancillary thing and like if you want it, you can buy it. But if they feel like they figured it out and like in that way where it's like the Mario 64 of VR, then it is going to be in box,
right.
And it's going to be like factored into the cost of the console and all that stuff.
Yep. Yeah, I think for the first kind of example,
to be clear, not Mario specifically, that they are charging you $60, maybe even $70 if they're on board with the $70 for the current generation thing or whatever. But the VR solution specifically is going to be
yeah, I think for the first kind of example of like it's an ancillary thing, I feel like VR would be a Ring Fit Adventure of that kind of thing where it's like you very much don't have to participate in this thing, but like it's there and like people that want it, it's fairly popular. But probably more like Nintendo Land in terms of like I could see them do a couple of smaller experiences like that where like Link's crossbow training and
like if they do VR, they're going to do like I feel like there's going to be like some sort of pack-in thing that is like relatively small. And then like they're going to have like the heavy hitters close to launch of like, this is why you have this Breath of the Wild and VR, Mario and VR or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely see them do that because like I feel like people have the pack-in, at least how Nintendo approaches pack-ins post Wii, all wrong. Because they're like, oh, this is a small game and I think it's neat, but I wouldn't pay for this. That's not how they're thinking about that. Like if they didn't feel like Wii Sports was essential to the experience for you to understand the console, they would charge you $60 for it. But because they feel like, oh, this is how you get this, like this is how this makes sense to the consumer, to developers, so on and so forth. And that's what they try to do with Nintendo Land as well. It's not a thing of like, we want to make you feel like you're getting a bargain. No, that's not what it is. I guarantee you it's not. So like whatever this pack-in will be, if it is a VR thing, I feel like it's gonna like fulfill a similar purpose of like, this is why we're doing VR and this is why it matters to you. Not like, we don't think they'll buy this, so you know, like
I mean, because like for the Switch, 1-2 Switch was that kind of a game, but the selling point of the Switch isn't motion controls like for the Wii, isn't, you know, these other things that the tablet, like with Nintendo
and 1-2 Switch is a perfect example of that, right? Where if that's what it was, and if it was just like, oh, just a, you know, cheap little fun quirky experience, we'll pack that in for free. If that's how they thought about it, it would have been a pack.
But the purpose of the Switch is honestly, Breath of the Wild is a better showcase of like, you can take this huge game and just like, you know, go play it on a rooftop and stuff. In an airplane.
And it's even exemplary of the other stuff, of like the quirky stuff, because like you by default you're still aiming with motion, you know, like that sort of stuff. So yeah, Breath of the Wild I feel like is a perfect title to like summarize the value of the Switch. But again, even more than that, they're like, well, pay for it. You know, like even that game that is perfect to explain that. Like it's only when it's a concept that they feel like needs to be explained. And I think VR would be the next thing that if they jump into it, that would need to be explained to stave off fears.
But yeah, I mean, VR aside, even if they don't do that, I think to answer Kate's question, like you said, it's next gen of or whatever comes after the Switch is more Switch, maybe with a catch, or maybe not. Maybe the whole catch is literally
it's just better,
more Switch, and it's got some games on it that
which honestly
on the other one
I think is less likely. To be honest, like just giving Nintendo, because again, that's a very like un-Nintendo thing to do. They did that one time ever with Super Nintendo. Everything else is like there's a huge shift of some kind, like even from N64 to GameCube is a bigger shift than like PlayStation 2 to PlayStation 3 in terms of like how they approached it, you know. Like whenever people bring up that graphic of like their controllers and stuff, that shows like the way that they are thinking when they make their next thing, right? So I would be surprised if like that image is another like NES to SNES controller shift where it's like it changed a little bit. I guess so. Like it's not Square anymore.
Yeah, so there you go. Another question on this similar topic. I think I'm going to switch the order of these two. Eric asks, what do you think the chances are Nintendo takes a risk and does something completely different for a more powerful console rather than just a Switch with upgraded graphics? That's kind of what we were just talking about.
I can't see them doing it. I could not see Nintendo doing that because it's like it's almost a bad business decision for them. like they would be losing what has like guaranteed work for them and like in spades if they were just like, oh, we're also going to do the thing that everybody else is doing, you know?
I mean, and they have, you know, we've seen before, they have the data as far as like how much is it played on the TV, how much is it played handheld, and all that kind of stuff. Like they know how much that's being used. So I mean, if truly one of them like just wasn't used at all, which isn't the case, if one of them wasn't used at all, then like sure, I could see them pivoting
double
hard
down
to
on one or the
other. But yeah, I mean, I think, you know, it's I do feel for the people that are like, man, I only ever played docked and I am now comparing to PS5 and Xbox
Right.
Series X, and I want this to be closer to those experiences. Yeah, sure.
But it's
I definitely
more
get
about
that.
what like Nintendo talks about it all the time, right? The other console manufacturers develop for third-party developers. That's what their target audience is when they're making their console, because that is what's making them most of their money. That might shift in the future, but for right now, that's what they're working towards. Nintendo is working towards their developers. So if their developers feel like they can realize their vision with the hardware that they're making, that's what they're going to make. And it just happens to be that their developers don't care as much about like raw horsepower. They care more about like being able to have flexibility and like input, you know, like it's in terms of like how the game is played, not what the game looks like when you're playing it.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, it's the whole thing of I had a tangent thought that I'm going to get to in a second too, but like, that when Mario Odyssey was being developed, that influenced the development of the Switch, because they were like, oh, this would be cool if we did this. And they're like, yeah, we can throw that in the Joy-Cons. Why not? That'd be fun. I heard a thing recently that I don't know if it's true at all. But it was that, okay, this is even more of a tangent. The reason Chatot is banned from tournaments is because, or from Pokemon tournaments or whatever, is because of chatter, and that you
program the,
you can say whatever words you want into it and stuff. And apparently, which like that makes sense and all that, because you can just, get it to swear and the NSFW stuff. But that apparently it was the Pokemon company that got Nintendo to not put a microphone in the Switch because of that.
I can't see. I don't think
feels a little far-fetched.
Because the thing is, like, Game Freak specifically, they are very like, Nintendo is a conservative company and they are much worse. Like Game Freak is like, oh, you're coming out with a new platform, we'll be there when it sells 20 million units. Like the Switch is probably the quickest that they had adopted a platform, and even that they weren't there like year one. Year one they made another 3DS game. And if you don't think that they're the first person that Nintendo is knocking on their door and being like, hey, we're making a new platform, let's go, and they're like, nah, so like, I mean, I don't think that they would care enough to do that. And the only like world where I see that conversation happening is if Nintendo's like, okay, well, what do you want? Like for us to be there day one.
And their thing they want is not a microphone.
Yeah, exactly. Like I can't see that being a thing.
But I mean, whatever. It's could be, and we just don't know. But like, seems weird for sure. But yeah, it's all that stuff.
Also, they don't even need to do that. Like, just take out the functionality of programming
in the
chatter.
game.
Like, like that just
there's plenty of games that don't let you use the touch screen, but there's still a touch screen.
Exactly. So Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, the terrible game.
Oh man, that's true.
It's so dumb because the UI clearly looks like it was designed for a touchscreen, but Sakurai, man.
What a silly
this is why all tours are a sin.
I mean, he and Kojima are good friends for a reason, I guess.
Two peas in a stupid pod. No, sure. I'm sort of joking. I'm not entirely.
So yeah, I think that's the thing. It's like I still, I mean, I'll go back and say I wouldn't be entirely surprised for Nintendo to at some point release like a set-top box kind of thing, in addition to just like a, hey, and just in case you don't like, it's only as strong as the base Switch or whatever, but it's like if you literally only play docked, here you go, like a PlayStation TV kind of a thing, where it's like, I guess you can do this, but I don't think it's going to
be more
push
powerful.
The console. Exactly. I think it'll just be cheaper and, in some ways more efficient, I guess, just because the fan can be in a different place or something like that.
Or bigger, or like it doesn't matter if it spins up as much,
So I think that's the most that we're looking at for now, at least, and hopefully forever, because I think we've got one more generation of Switch form factor, and for sure, and then I don't know after that, but I'll be kind of sad when it's gone. But I don't think it will ever be gone.
I think the only chance that we have of it like going away is if there's either like a huge shift in like the form factor of like gaming in general, like if gaming's like all like AR or like freaking Ready Player One level stuff,
Yeah,
like
right.
I could see them changing in that regard, or if whatever's next flops hard.
Yeah, right.
Because like this just like everything led up to this, you know, like all of their successes and failures informed Switch, and I think that like them going back from that and changing the form factor would not help them, you know, unless they think of a vastly different form factor. Like I can't see them going back to a normal form factor. It will be, it's either something that we never thought of before or it's going to be Switch.
I think,
Would
yeah,
be
the
my
convenience of
guess.
going from docked to handheld, I think there's got to be some replacement for that if
Right.
it's not exactly that. And so that could be something that's technology dependent, that like, you know, at some point there is a tablet thing that you have that, I mean, like, I guess PlayStation streaming kind of thing, like a better version of that sort of situation where you can just like, you can play it on there, but it's, you know, whatever. But I think the technological landscape would need to be just truly so different from what it is now in the world at large for that to be possible.
Yeah.
So yeah. Last question on this topic. Will Breath of the Wild 2 be better than the first? From Jumpo.
I don't know.
I don't
know. I think like in the like quantifiable sense, yes. Like I think it will be more, you know, like they're gonna add more numbers to the thing. You know, it's gonna be like a longer game, and like the set pieces will be bigger and more impressive and stuff like that. But whether it's going to be better at the core value to me of Breath of the Wild, I have my doubts.
Yep.
Because it will be hard.
Yep. I mean, I think it's exactly a Mario Galaxy 2 situation where like I played Mario Galaxy 2 first, and then going back to Mario Galaxy, I was like, this game's great. Mario Galaxy 2 is better. Like,
nah, but I think with this specifically, like the thing that's so good about Breath of the Wild isn't like a mechanical thing, you know, like a platformer is like inherently mechanical. So for like the game to improve on the mechanics of the platformer is like a direct improvement of the game, right? But with like Breath of the Wild and so much of the value that they themselves promote of it being like it's this whole crazy world to explore, and like you throw something at it and it will throw it back, you know, like that sort of thing. I don't know how they keep that. So like I don't doubt that they could, but I think that it will be very hard for them to build off the same base and make it a mystery again, you know.
Right, that's the thing. Exactly. It's like like you said, quantifiably or whatever, it'll be better in the same way that with Mario Galaxy 2, like there's more to it. It's doing what the first game is doing and then some. And I think this game similarly is they might take away some things from the first game that some people could like, but I think the like base thing of like the way the chemical engine and all those things, like that stuff is going to be there, and then they're also going to have all this other stuff. But yeah, that's the thing. It's like, can they get me at this point, who loves Breath of the Wild so much, to be as wowed by this one?
Right.
Probably not, I'd guess. But
yeah,
hopefully, I mean if so, like, good on you, you know. Like,
yeah, that's impressive if they can, but I have doubt.
Yes, I agree. But I don't have doubts that it's going to be great, though. I think we're all
no.
But yeah, is it going to be as magical of an experience? You know, I'm not expecting it to. I'll say it that way instead. I'm not expecting it to. And if it's just a great game, that's you know, high bar for a lot of other games. I don't think it's a particularly high bar for this. I think that's just like, if it's a great game, I'll be happy, and I expect it to meet that. So Alex said 2,700 Korok seeds.
I mean, yeah, that's the type of stuff that I think that they will definitely do.
I said to Ashley the other day, and I was like, do you know what that is? And she was like, is it a person? I said, no. Is it an animal? I said, no. She was like, I have no way of knowing. I was like, it's from Breath of the Wild. I was like, okay, cool. So that's that tangent for you. We did it. But you know who else did it? Nintendo. They did the getting in trouble a little bit. And they fixed the error of their ways. Specifically, if you ever got a Nintendo Switch.
Oh wait, no, I do know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So long story short, if you ever get if you get a Nintendo Switch Online subscription, it automatically sets to auto renew unless you turn it off. I think even if you get a free month, and I could be wrong about that, could definitely be wrong about that. I don't know. Also same thing for Microsoft, or similar kind of thing for Microsoft. But basically, you maybe not if you get a free month, because you don't put in your credit card information.
I think it depends on how you get the free month.
Oh, that could be, yeah. So in any case, but yeah, before, people would accidentally be like, oh man, I've been paying for this thing for a couple of months now, and I didn't mean to. I didn't notice that it's set to auto renew, and I didn't want that. And so somebody got them in trouble for it, and so they fixed it, which is very good. It's
get on the law, I guess.
Yeah, okay,
because they didn't do it because they wanted to, for sure.
No, for sure, yeah. Which is that's the kind of thing. There's a couple of things like that, like their refund policy, basically that you can't there's no way to get a refund once you've pre-ordered a game, even if it hasn't come out yet and stuff like that's. I don't like that kind of stuff at all. That's gross.
Yep.
So they need to fix that stuff.
True. Will they? Not unless they're made.
Only if, exactly. Which I think they were for that one in.
I think it was
Germany
in the
Norway,
it was
or
in
something?
the
Somewhere in Europe.
Yep. That's the only time that stuff like that happens, because they are a corporation. That's the thing. They're a corporation, and corporations don't do nothing unless they feel like they have to, or they literally do have to.
Yep. I mean, and I can see returning a game once you've played, once it's come out and you've played it.
Yeah, trying to cheese it, trying to be I'm going to beat the game and then return it, like that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's shaky for sure. And Steam has rules about that. If you played more than 2 hours, I think, or
I think it is 2 hours.
Something like that.
I think Xbox does it too. That's how I got my money back for Nick All-Star Brawl. And it's the refund stuff. Well, actually, see, the only reason why I returned it on Nick All-Star Brawl is because I just don't like the controller as much. Or I like the controller, but it feels weird playing a game like that on the Xbox controller, because I'm so used to playing Smash with the Switch.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, since I had only opened the game once and played it for 2 hours or something, no, it was an hour and a half even. They just were yeah, here's your refund. And I was like, sick, dude.
Nice. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, Nintendo's not about that.
Yeah, no, not at all. And neither is Sony.
Yep. And
but now they have to, partially.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I said Microsoft earlier. I meant to say Sony. That was
Microsoft already does it.
But speaking of Microsoft and Sony, both of those platforms are getting the game No More Heroes 3, which is no more
How dare
on the Switch.
I am going to riot. How dare people?
As well, you should.
That's one less thing that I can use to say that my plastic box of choice is better than other people's plastic box of choice.
Yep. I mean, Nintendo lost the console war forever, as we know,
Oh, disgusting.
Yeah, I don't know. Nothing to talk about there. Just cool.
Yeah, I haven't even played that game. I didn't even care to play it on my console of choice. Yeah. So I definitely don't care to play it on this.
It's still one that in the back of my mind, I'm maybe I'd be interested in playing that, because I just really don't. It got such varied reviews. I don't know which of the people I would agree with or not agree with, Yeah. So it's just
the thing is,
there's other games that are good.
It's just a game that I feel people that like it will be able to explain the value better, but I also don't trust them. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes, I know exactly what you mean.
Like, so it's like, it's just, I'm not.
It feels like me trying to sell you on Lord of the Rings.
Exactly,
You know?
exactly. That's exactly what it is. Where it's like, I get why you like that, but I am not you. You know, like, so like, for somebody to be like, this is why this is great, and I really think that this part is cool about it. It's like, yeah, but that's like something like stuff like that. Like a lot of the like stuff that people have like pitched me on No More Heroes with is like things that make me actively hate games that I have tried in the past. So it's like, I know that I won't like this game just based off of the description of people that love it.
Yep.
Which is a good thing at the end of the day. Like, at the end of the day, it's good to know like whether a game is for me or not. But, you know, it's like, it's still unfortunate because I did want to, like, you know, it's like one of the big games, you know?
Yeah, right.
So like, the more games, the merrier. But
I bet maybe it comes to Game Pass in a year and a half or something like that.
But I'm not going to play that. So the only chance that game had was on the Nintendo Switch system. I'm going to be real. Like, I need to like want to, like, the thing about Game Pass is like, I pay for Game Pass and it's great. But like even the games that I play on there are mostly games that like I have like some sort of like reason to want to play it beforehand, you know?
Right.
It's just like, I wanted to play this and I wasn't playing it because, you know, time and whatnot, but it's free now. So that justifies it for me. Right. It's not really something that I like scroll through Game Pass and I'm like, I just want something to play. You know, oh, this cover art looks neat, you know, like that sort of stuff. It's like, I don't really do that.
No, I feel that there's, I mean, like for a while, maybe it still is, I don't know, but Dragon Quest 11S is on Game Pass. And
it
part of me,
it might be going now because I do know that they sunset stuff on there.
They do, yeah. But like, you know, I definitely want to play that game, but I was like, for one thing, I'd like to play it on Switch because I think if I'm going to play it anywhere, it's going to be there. So, I mean, I could go ahead and start playing the 10-hour demo if I want to, but it's just like, because I'm playing other games, there's just never a time where I'm like, I am now ready to play 100-hour game that I am late to the party for. So, yeah, that's
I mean, another thing of it for me is like, since on like we do this like for you know, like for our audience and stuff to like talk about games and stuff like that. So like when that incentive is also not there for a game that I only kind of want to play, it's like I'm out. Like I do, like, you know, it's like Travis Strikes Again. Freaking No More Heroes 3 is not in the zeitgeist anymore. So like the value of it is gone for me. So like, I just don't care anymore.
Yep. I mean, and even for me, like, I think I'm probably in the camp where the things that are annoying about the game wouldn't be annoying to me.
Yep.
I think, but I also don't know that the things that are good about the game are things that I care that much about either. You know, like I think I would find some of the stuff neat and the story bits or something funny, maybe because there's some funny bits, anything like that. But I just don't think I think I'll be right in the middle where I'm like, all right, yeah, that was a fine game.
Right.
And that's not worth it.
Yeah, that's yep. That makes sense.
Yeah. But you know what game is not like that? Kirby and the Forgotten Lands.
True.
Which you and I both beat yesterday.
That's true. That's a fact.
I literally I messaged you, but I was online, or I turned on my Switch and it was set to online, and then I saw you tweet, "I'm gonna beat Kirby" or whatever. And I was like, gotta pop that back to offline. Or maybe that was, but I don't know. In any case, I'm glad you tweeted it. Otherwise, I would have been like, I'll just leave it online. It's no big deal. So,
crisis averted. Crisis averted. Like, I could have just like text you or something.
Yeah, right. Also true. So yeah, on to games we're playing, which includes Kirby, and we'll talk about Kirby.
I'm playing other stuff too, so I don't know. You want to have like a larger discussion about Kirby? Because if that's the case, I can talk about the other stuff I'm playing first, and then we talk about
go
Kirby.
ahead. I've got one other thing I'm going to talk about.
Okay,
it's going to be very short. So go ahead with yours.
No, you go with your thing.
Okay. I'm trying to go through here. Let me just make sure there wasn't another one as well. I think it's just this one. trying to go through, my backlog and stuff. And last week I mentioned that I played this game, Him and Her, for like literally 5 minutes. And I was like, all right, guitar music's fun and neat. Gameplay is whatever. But it was just a game that had been bought at some point. So, play that. Similarly, when a bunch of games were on sale right after the new year or whatever, I had a bunch of gold points and some gift cards and stuff. So I used those on multiple games, and I've been kind of working my way through those to at least give them a try. And I'm going to come back to some of them, like Into the Breach. I played a couple weeks ago, and that was really fun. And I need to go back and play more of that. I had a list of I had like, a little over $2 left of gold coins at the time, and had a bunch of $2 games. I was like, Ashley, which of these looks good? And she was like, you should play Figment. And I was like, all right, cool. So I downloaded it, and I never started it up. Here, it's this one here. If we can see it at all on the screen, there you go. It's kind of blurry, but that's the idea.
See it.
That one in the middle.
Yep, the one that
Thumbnail's
says
pretty
Figment.
cool. The one that says Figment. Thumbnail's cool, so it seemed like maybe this is a cool game. I played about 15 minutes of the game. I'm never turning it back on.
Oh no.
I don't know how exactly to describe it. I mean, it's an indie game, so like some indie games are great and other ones not. It's kind of reminds me of Bastion in some ways, which Bastion was really good. But like, it's a kind of painterly art style, and it's the concept sort of Inside Out, where like you play as somebody in somebody's brain, and all of the things are like, oh no, this synapse battery is dead. We got to go find, this, there you go. Focus back on my face. Got it. So you got to get like a battery and do, like whatever.
Yep.
And there's voice acting in the whole game. Like everything you do, it's, like you go and pick up the battery, and it's like, it says, yep, that's the synapse battery. All right. And then you go bring it to a place, and you press the wrong button, and it's like, man, I wish I had a battery for this. And then you press the right button, it's like, there's that battery. And I'm like, oh goodness gracious. So that, and the voice acting in general is very bad. And it all culminated about 15 minutes in, where there was like a tiny bit of a boss fight, and the bad guy, who I guess is probably the music director of the game, I don't know, is definitely not a voice actor, but he was doing the voice acting because he also is obviously a singer, and he started to sing at some point, and it was like kind of rock opera, a little bit metal sort of thing, but bad. Oh yeah. So long story short, I played about 15 minutes of that game, and it was an experience to say the least, and I'm not going to be playing again. So there you go. That's
Figment.
Yeah.
If that sounds like something you want to play, you're weird, but there it is.
Yeah, I'll say, okay, bad is probably the wrong word. Cheesy is probably better, and like a little uninteresting.
Yep.
So that's it's not that terrible. It's just cheesy and uninteresting, which is,
how much is it?
Fine. I mean, it was like $2 on sale.
Okay.
I don't know how much it is. I think it's like a one that's normally $10 or something like that. Here, Figment Switch. I think it's one that's more.
That's not. I mean, probably
$20 normally, but it was down on
weird.
sale for $2.
That does not sound like it's worth $20.
Yeah, but it's got this little like painterly art. The art's pretty nice. Here, I'll pull it up on screen just to give, so that we can get the vibe for it. Share the screen. Okay, so there you go. This is kind of what the game
I don't see a screen.
You don't see the screen. Oh, I haven't pressed the button that says share. That would probably be why.
There it is.
Probably be why. I had to look it up on the incognito browser. Otherwise,
because
it
it's
will
not
not
going to
tell
show
me
you
the price.
Yep.
Because it's like, you've already got it, man. Why do you need to know the price? Yeah. So it's
it looks cool.
It looks cool, but the sword play wasn't particularly fun. The puzzles felt pretty straightforward so far into it, and it really, the voice acting was the thing that did it for me. It was just not particularly good voice acting. So that You live and you learn.
True that.
But if you got $2, maybe that's the thing that you want to find out about whenever it goes on sale next time. All right, now moving on to you and the games that you've been playing.
I'm playing a few things, one of which is not on the Switch. It's friggin' Street Fighter 5 because Mars was like, yo, I want to play Street Fighter 5. And I was like, cool. And then Rise was like, yo, we're playing Street Fighter 5. And I was like, all right, sick. So I was like, all right, I'll buy Street Fighter 5. And then I bought the like base edition for like $8 on PlayStation store. And then I like played that, and there's like you get like 8 characters or some nonsense like that, and then you don't get any alts or anything. I was like, this is trash. So today I bought the champion edition upgrade kit or something like that for like another $15. And now it's slightly better. That said, I need to get used to playing these type of games because mostly the movement feels terrible to me. Like I don't like the movement. It feels super stiff and gross. And that's like my favorite thing about like Smash is movement, is like the micro spacing and all this stuff. And like it feels nasty to do that in this kind of game. And I'm not even going to say that it's like a traditional fighter like 2D sort of thing, because movement in like Dragon Ball Fighters feels good, but in this game it feels trash. And I like it. But once I get used to the movement, I'm going to be mixing people up. It's going to be crazy. I'm going to do the thing, And the thing that's funny is like traditional fighter people that like don't like Smash, and they're like trying to crap on Smash because it's like, oh, Smash way easier or whatever, right? The thing that they try to say is hard about fighting games is the easiest part. Like I don't have any problem at all doing the inputs. That is not an issue for me. That is very easy. I didn't even look at the combo list before. I was like, oh, that's this input for that, and that's that input for that. There's like certain things that I do got to look at, like the super specials or whatever. I don't know what those inputs are for all the characters or whatever. So I got to look at that and be like, well, which one is it? This is it freaking back forward, or is it forward, back, or like down forward, down forward, like that sort of stuff. But I don't know. I think I could be good at this game.
Have you tried button mashing? Because that was always my strategy.
Nah, man.
Let me tell you what.
I can't.
It works against people who button mash.
It's true.
So,
it does.
8-year-olds, we did great at that.
For the most part, I've been doing the opposite of that, where it's like, so if I don't know how to do a move, I'm like, okay, what do their punches and kicks look like? And then I just space. Then I'm just like, okay, that's the distance of this kick. I am going to use this kick when you were this far from me. I'm just using fundamentals. I'm just using the same stuff that I use in Smash Brothers, where it's like, oh, you're this far from me, I'm going to forward tilt or whatever, right? So I have good feeling about my ability to play that video game. The other game that I'm playing, well, I'm doing Smash on stream because I want to do, I did that Squirtle video a while back. And I was like, can I win the tournament with just Squirtle? I got to do the other two because I said I was going to do the other two, and I never did the other two. So now I'm doing Charizard because I feel like Ivysaur, doing Ivysaur next is going to be anticlimactic, because Ivysaur is going to be like, and it's like going to be, I don't know, for anybody that saw like the Smash documentary at the beginning of the guy talking about Korean DJ playing the video game, and like he's like freaking, like going back and forth with this dude, and it's like, oh man, I almost had you, LOL, pro player. And then the narrator's like, and now he will try, and then he freaking like craps on this man. He like doesn't touch him. That's what it's going to be with Ivysaur. Like it's going to be like, and now he will try, and I'm like like Ivysaur, like it will be so easy to do it with just Ivysaur, mark my words. But I also thought of something else that I want to do. I don't know how long it's going to take with Charizard, because like one factor is like you can only do it 2 days out of like they have the one-on-one tournaments for 2 days, and then they swap it out to the free-for-all tournaments or whatever. So that's one factor. The other factor is I got to do it on like during a time period where it's populated enough to be 32-man tournaments instead of 16-man tournaments, which is what I was getting all day yesterday on stream. Because I don't want to do it with a 16-man tournament, because that's anticlimactic too, to be like, I won, but it wasn't a full tournament, it wasn't a full bracket. So I want to do it on a full bracket. But once I get a full
not only
bracket,
is that one extra game, but it also means the skill level is higher, because you get that Like
Right, because like if
aggregate
you won a
skill.
round, you were good enough to win a round. If
Yeah.
you win 3 rounds, you were good enough to win 3 rounds, you
Yeah.
know? So it's like if I'm just fighting somebody that's good enough to win 2 or whatever, right?
Mhm.
It's like not as good as fighting somebody that's good enough to win 3.
True.
Plus, it takes more endurance and all that other stuff to like be able to win all of them, you know?
Yeah. Right.
So
That sounds fun.
gotta do with that.
So that's something you're working on stream, you said?
Yeah, I'm just chipping away at it. It's not really something that's like there's no real time limit. It's going to be a thing that like a video that goes up when I don't have any other specific ideas for a week. It's like, I can throw this up now, you know, chip away at all of them. And then I also want to do one where it's like a Nuzlocke sort of situation where there's no restriction at first. But if I lose a stock as Squirtle, I can't use Squirtle anymore. If I lose a stock as Ivysaur, I can't use Ivysaur anymore, and so on.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Also want to do that.
Yeah. Is there much of a world for like challenge runs in Smash or that kind of thing?
I mean, on some level, but not really something that I want to do because it's like I like the game a lot, but I don't think it's interesting for our audience unless there's that personal connection there. Like they know I care about Pokemon Trainer and Pokemon in general. So like I think it's more interesting to be like he's using the character he likes a lot. But if I'm like, yo, I'm gonna do a challenge with Olimar, who gives a crap? You know, like so it's like
probably Pixel Part. He loves.
Plus, it wouldn't be as fun for me personally.
Yeah. That's
it would be a grind, and I don't want to do that. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Also, I played a tiny bit of Mario Golf, literally like 15 minutes before we started recording. So that's up now. So everybody go play that if you want.
True.
I don't have a whole lot of thoughts other than I've played a little bit of it, so we'll see how it goes.
Nice. Hashtag mashing gang.
Any other games for Kirby?
I mean, I feel like there's other stuff, but I can't think of it, so it's not important enough. Kirby time.
Kirby it is. All right. You beat it. Are you doing
I did.
So no spoilers, I guess. For anybody. I don't know. You start us off. I have many thoughts and words, but
how? Where? What do you?
I don't know. Whatever you want. You beat the game. What'd you think of the?
I don't like the Waddle
experience?
D thing. I don't like that I have to get X amount of Waddle Ds in X area because that set me back in the stream before when I initially thought that I was going to beat it because I was like, well, I've skipped a lot of Waddle Ds because I'm over it. I just want to like see the ending of the game, right? Which I mean, I still like the game. The game is still fun, but like as far as like playing it on stream, it's kind of annoying to play it on stream because people are like, "Oh, you gotta go back and get this." I'm like, "Yo, I'm doing this on stream. There needs to be forward momentum. I don't want to go back and do it over and over and over again. That's not fun for me, and it won't be fun for you. I promise." So like, I kind of wanted to just get Kirby off the docket in that regard. But the Waddle Dees is the most annoying part of that because I gotta freaking play kind of slow to be like, okay, I hear the Waddle Dee. Where is it? Okay, it's there. How do I get over there? All right, I gotta go do that or whatever, right? So the fact that I was like going through it the first stream, I was like, okay, I need I don't know, like 12 more Waddle Dees or whatever to do the thing. I thought it just meant like in total. Like I just need that many Waddle Dees, but it meant that many Waddle Dees in that area specifically. So I went through and got Waddle Dees from all over the land. And then I went up there and I was like, yeah, what the heck? Then it was like, oh, freaking, they want me to get Waddle Dees from this area specifically. So I was like, I'm not doing that right now. We'll do it on the next stream. So I did it on the next stream, and then I did one level and I got all the Waddle Dees that I needed. And there we are. Trev said Kirby being the most backseated game is crazy. That's a fact. But you see it though. You saw chat. You saw chat every time I was like, chat's like, yo, I gotta go back and get that blueprint. I'm like, no, I don't want to go back and get the blueprint. And then I'm like, all right, what ability is it? And they're like, it's the Twister ability. I'm like, I hate the Twister ability. I'm definitely not getting that blueprint. That ability sucks. And then I was like, okay, chat, is the Twister ability better then? Like, it's the upgrade better? And then people in chat were like, it gets worse. And I was like, what? I was like, oh, nah, absolutely not. So
that's
I was
funny.
I just was like, I'm just gonna stick with fire, and then I'm gonna cheat the final boss, and it's fine. It will be fine. It's
Yep.
cool. And they're like, I don't know, man, you're underestimating the final boss. And I'm like, I don't think I am. I did the first freaking, like, this is like a 12-part boss fight, which is not a complaint. I think it was neat. It was like, it's like hamming it up, being like, yo, Kirby epic, end of the world, Elden Ring game, LOL. Which is neat. But the thing about, like, I tried the like last part of the boss, like I want to say like 2-3 times or something like that, and that's because like the first time that I played it through, I didn't know that I could freaking heal. So like, I didn't know I could do that, and then
heal where?
I had a healing item, and I didn't know that I could. I didn't know that was the thing that I could do.
Yeah.
So then I did it again, and then I'm just playing.
What was your fire ability about it? Was it the dragon?
Dragon. Yeah, it was the dragon one. It's cracked. It's broken.
It's the same one I used. Yeah, it's broken.
Yeah, sure. It's super broken. So I like was doing that, and then I got to the second attempt. I got to a part where, because I used the fire ability, and I just like took half of his health the first time, and like he just got eviscerated or whatever, and it immediately went to like the last little segment of the boss fight. So then I do it again after dying from not healing, and then he freaking stun locked me because he did this laser thing that I didn't even know he could do. I was like, yo, I didn't see that the last time I tried this. So then I did it again, and I beat him. And I was like,
yeah, no, yeah, fire and ice, the blizzard one, especially the third tier.
But it's I don't have the level 3, but Blizzard's my favorite one. The Blizzard, but the main reason why I didn't use that in the boss fight was because I don't have level 3, and I just know that the fire is cracked because
I mean,
but actually no, I do have level 3 now. I don't remember why I didn't use fire. I mean, ice then.
I don't know. I mean,
because ice is like the one that has the like spiky
icicles. Yeah.
Level 2 is the one with the like bear hat.
Snowman. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's so
also one more thing. The car being that thing, you know. That was, I hated that, but I do get it now. I understand it more because I was playing like Kirby was Mario Kart. And you're like still controlling Kirby. So like it works better if you hold forward and move left and right. But when 100%. I'm playing a driving game, I'm not holding forward. I'm just going left and right.
Which is funny. Yeah, because I like 100% that, because I was playing Mario Kart with my wife and sister-in-law a couple days or a week ago or whatever. And my sister-in-law was playing Mario Kart like I do Kirby, where like holding it forward and like whatever. And I was like, you don't need to do that.
That's what you're. The thing is, like, it seems like that is what the game wants you to do. Because, like, if you just hold, I don't know if you tried it, but like, if you just hold left and right, if you turn to a certain point, the controls invert. Yeah, and that's why I died a whole bunch of times because I'm like, yo, what the heck? Why is it inverting my controls out of nowhere?
I had that happen with a different, because like car totally fine the whole time, just because the way that I happened to be doing it worked out well. So I never had that specific issue with the car, but there was a different ability in some, I think it was the boat in some section where I had to go fast. Oh yeah. It was one of the little challenge room things. I think there's one towards the end where it has a section where you use each of the different mouthful mode ability things. So I did that, and the boat section, I wasn't holding forward for the boat section, and so it did the whole like inverting controls as you were going through, and that was annoying.
Yeah, it's dumb. I don't know why
I felt
they
your
did
pain
that.
in that
It's so
minute.
stupid. I hate it. That was the only thing I don't like about the video game. Like the rest of it, great game. Like if I were to rate this game, I would give it a 9. And the reason why it lost a point is the car. Like that is the whole. It took a point off of the video game for me.
That's funny. Yeah, honestly. So like, I think partly doing it not on stream and stuff. The end for me. Well, I was missing, by the time I got to the final boss, I was missing all of one total Waddle Dees, because it was one from there's the last sequence of things kind of happens back to back. And so I was missing one from that I just went back and got later. And then, but that was it. I had everything else. So all of that was very seamless. I didn't even know. I mean, I knew that at some point, showed like 20, you need 25, and then like
Mhm.
to break the things down. But yeah, I didn't know that that had to be from that area either, because I was just going through
Yeah,
slow
same.
and steady.
I never ran into that. And
Yeah.
there's no area where I have all Waddle Dees. There's none.
Mhm. Yeah.
So it was, I just usually went up and I was like, oh, I have enough Waddle Dees. That's fine. And
Mhm.
but I went to this and I was like, oh, okay, maybe I don't have enough overall, because I knew I didn't unlock like
Right.
the fishing one last time I played. So I
Mhm.
was like, oh,
Gotcha.
okay. And I know that that's an overall thing. So I assumed
Mhm.
that it was just overall in general. And I was like, nah, I gotta get freaking Waddle Dees from this area specifically.
Mhm.
So here we are, and I did it. We're here.
Nice. Yeah.
Game done.
Game done. Yeah. Boss fight. I mean, most of it just went very well for me, which was nice, because I was in the comfort of my own home and no backseat chat and all that stuff. And the driving isn't particular. It just like has turned out.
Oh, I had no problem with that part. I just
Okay, cool. Yeah.
It was just chat was like, that's funny. Alex
Yeah.
specifically was like, it is funny that this is the last thing for you and you alone.
Your final boss fight, and you overcame it. Man, it is funny. Like the tropes of like Kirby starts out with this, just this nice little thing, and then by the end you're fighting some Cthulhu, whatever, HP Lovecraft kind of thing. I was like, yep, checks out. Like, you're not wrong. So that was fun. Did you check out any of what the post game is like yet?
Nope.
I started on that last night. No, I started on it today a little bit. And I'm gonna go ahead and do it, because like at this point,
I'll probably do it. I gotta look at it and see if I want to do it on stream.
I'll spoilers.
I don't need the Kirby backseating. I don't need it. And it's not even like usually backseating and like you don't know what you're doing type of backseating. It's like you're not trying to experience the full breadth of this game. And I'm like, no, I'm not trying to do that on stream. Like,
yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, because I mean, like I was, and I'm glad that I did, but I have no misconceptions that that's not the right. That is the right experience for everybody in all situations. You know what I mean? Like, I think you should get as much out of the game as you want to get out of that game. And I was enjoying getting, all the little bits and pieces out of it and stuff. But if somebody doesn't want to, then that
and again, it's specifically for stream, because for me, I feel better on stream when things are moving forward.
Yeah.
I don't want to do stuff over and over and over again, even if chat's okay with it. And they're like, oh, no, take your time, blah, blah. I don't care. For me personally, I want forward momentum when I have to like entertain people and like keep the conversation moving on my own, especially, like if I was like hanging out with other people, maybe I would do the same thing over and over again. But like just trying to run the stream, I'm not doing the same thing over and over again. I'm sorry. I can't.
No, makes sense. But yeah, the post game stuff is kind of like remix-ish of levels that you've already done. So like, but different, similar locales, but different enemies there, and different things that you're trying to do and stuff, and like harder boss fights and stuff from the looks of it. So I've done one of the levels, and I think there's like 7 maybe or so, but they're kind of long. So I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, just overall, I very, very enjoyed this game, and I look forward to more Kirby things like it.
Yep, same.
So, and I mean, I'll be talking about it more in videos here and there too, about specific bits. There's 2 main topics I think that will kind of come out of this game, and then I don't know, maybe more as time goes on. We'll see.
We shall see.
But I think, the one thing I'll say is I think, as opposed to how we talked about Pokemon Legends Arceus, this game did a really good job, besides the things that like you had with the not enough Waddle Dees to something and like that's reasonable,
which that's my fault.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
I still would have never ran into that if I didn't get to the point where it's like, all right, wrap it up. For stream specifically. But if I was just playing it normally, I would have got all the Waddle Dees. I would have did all that stuff, but I wasn't playing it normally. So
I think the pacing overall, I thought was just really, really good. Of just like, you know, a lot of Nintendo games, you'll think that you're towards the end, and then sometimes I mean, World of Light is the opposite extreme of that, where it's like,
Mhm.
oh, I guess we're kind of wrapping up. And then it was like, nope, this is 50%. There's that much more to do. And then even when you think you're done, there's like 3 more little
Yep.
fake out endings. And you're like, goodness gracious,
Yep.
it's so much.
Terrible.
And so this did a really good balance of like having some more stuff, but it just never going overboard, but also not feeling like, oh, it, you know, that it was over too quickly or anything like that.
Mhm.
And then plus there's post-game stuff if you want to do that. And like, again, not spoilery or anything, I don't think, but the way that it handles, like, I don't know, story-wise and world-wise, the post-game bits feels more, I don't know, it feels better than what I've always called the Zelda ending, where you
Mhm.
fight Ganon and then game finishes, you have a cutscene, turn the game back on, and you're like at Hyrule Castle about to fight Ganon again. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
Oh,
But I did
okay.
this.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like the world perpetually lives.
Wait,
in,
did I not win? Did
Yeah.
I get the bad ending? Like,
exactly. So yeah, it was a good old time. So there's Kirby for you.
true.
Yes.
There's Kirby.
All right. And then now into Q&A. If anybody in Discord's got anything, feel free to say the things. Trev said, as a lifelong Zelda fan, I couldn't agree more. I'm glad. I mean, I'm sad that it's like that, but like, yeah, I'm glad that it's kind of general consensus.
Yep.
That it feels a
it's
little
dumb.
sad. Yep. All right. YouTube community. I asked the question of whether you thought in 2023, so we're kind of going back to the first topic of the day. Oh, there's a couple more questions real quick. Let me grab those. Grabbing this one. I asked if people thought that the Switch Pro versus like Switch Pro / upgraded Switch, or Switch 2 / successor, or no new hardware would come out in 2023. So that was the questions. 51% said no new hardware, 37% said Switch Pro of some sort, and 13% said Switch 2 or the successor.
Yep.
So Shepherd Boy said, I believe the OLED Switch model is the final Switch we'll get until the new console releases. So as in, we've already gotten it. I mean, we've talked about this kind of.
We talked about it. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I disagree.
I think it might have been intended to at the time, in that like the whole thing of that, like the OLED Switch was maybe going to be originally the also
like
stronger
the next thing is,
new chip,
Yep,
that kind of stuff. But then they had to split those into 2 different things. So, you know, I think it's not.
Well, also, even then, I'd kind of doubt that. Like, I feel like,
timeline wise,
if we're midway through the life cycle, as they keep saying, I think that we are at least getting one revision of the whatever the upgrade is, at least one, if not 2, to maybe even 3. But like, if we're halfway through and we got a good 5-6 years left of this platform, they're gonna do another one, at least one.
Right.
So like, I could see the like Switch, even if it's like whatever Switch Pro is, and then like a Switch Pro Lite or whatever, like there's going to be something else, you know,
or the set-top box or something else like that, or whatever, like something increasing the family as it stands. I mean, like, my made up timeline in my mind is that we get an upgrade revision kind of a thing next year, and then there's a like actually like Switch 2 kind of a thing, probably no earlier than at least 2025, but maybe, I don't know, something like that. So, which is like, that's a pretty long console generation, but it's not the longest there's ever been, or it might be among the longest it's ever been. I don't really,
I mean, I don't think it's longer than, well, it's definitely not longer than PS4, Xbox One. They're technically still not over yet.
Well, that's true. That's so I guess it depends on that part of it too,
like, and not even in like the PlayStation 2 capacity where they like release like legacy editions. Like, no, like they're still getting like games developed for their SKU that are like, or for their spec, and then upgraded after the fact for current gen, you know. So like they're probably going to be on like, you know, like 12 years by the time they're like fully sunset.
I mean, I was gonna say originally, like it would be maybe tricky to do that with the Switch because, like, if the next thing is the same as this thing, then how does that work for the console market and stuff? But like,
Mhm.
no, I mean, they just sell the two side by side until the people are only buying the upgraded one and not buying the Switch anymore. And then at that point, you're like, all right, see a Switch.
Yep.
But you can do price reductions and like as long as you're getting people into the ecosystem. If somebody doesn't have anything, Switch is out, Switch 2 is out, and they buy the Switch, then like some point they're more likely to upgrade to a Switch 2 than later down the road than getting nothing and then getting a Switch 2. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like
right.
getting somebody on board at all is a win.
Yeah.
Especially with having a Nintendo Switch Online and having an account and
Yeah, like
games
for
that
compatibility and stuff
exactly. Like that's yeah. So, but yeah, I guess we'll see. Common Gamer said, talk about if you've seen Sonic 2, because it's actually pretty darn good.
I haven't yet. Have you?
Not yet.
I'll probably go see it with my brother within the next few weeks.
Mhm.
But when exactly that is, I don't know.
Yeah. I'd like to see it at the drive-in because that's typically where we see our movies these days. And for a while, like last year when we were going, Ezra was small enough that like she would just, I don't know, it was pretty comfy still to like sit in the front seat and just have her fall asleep and stuff. Now
Yep.
she's a little bit bigger and more active and stuff to where I think restraining her in that way, like she just wants to be, crawling around and stuff. So it'd be maybe a little trickier. So I might have to wait till it comes out on some kind of on-demand thing, which is going to be wild.
I feel that.
But or we haven't had her grandparents, my in-laws babysitter very much yet.
Mhm.
But maybe we do. And just a question of like, is that movie worth
Is it worth that? I was gonna say I was gonna be like for this.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, she was supposed to get babysat on Wednesday. We were gonna go to see John Mayer, because my wife really likes John Mayer, and we bought tickets in like July of last year, I think. And also, so the two of us and also my wife's sister and her dad, all four of us were going to go. And her mom was going to stay with Ezra, like come to our house, stay with Ezra. We go to the concert, then we come back. They pick up my mother-in-law and then they drive home and we stay at home with Ezra where we live. That was the plan. And I don't know, just like on Sunday or on Saturday ahead of time, so like 3 or 4 days out, Ashley and I both were just like, I don't know. When we bought these tickets, like vaccines were coming out and stuff for one thing. So it felt like everything's probably going to be normal.
Yeah, that's
April.
where I was at with Genesis.
Yeah.
The tournament that is literally happening today.
Oh.
Yeah, I was like, me and Lee were like, yeah, let's book it. It was
Yeah.
like vaccines. I was vaccinated. I already went to New York and came back the first time.
Yep.
I was like, it was going to be pretty good. And then everything was wilding out. I was like, nah, maybe we shouldn't.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. So yeah, we're like, I don't know if we should do that. And I don't know. It just in general, we just felt like not quite right about it. And then turned out on Wednesday, there was like a tornado warning and tons of storms and stuff anyway. So we were like very glad. Well, and we were able to sell our tickets through Ticketmaster, like technically at a loss, but not at a huge loss, like definitely not at the, full amount loss. So, selling our tickets was nice because
also like getting the money back for stuff like that after the fact, even if it's
feels like free money.
Yeah, it feels like you got money because you already spent that money in your head. Yep. So it's like money was gone, but then you get it back. It's like, neat.
That's exactly how it feels.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So that's great. And there was something that we wanted to spend some money on anyway. And so that like we'll cover that nicely, which is good. But yeah, so all that to say, she didn't get babysat. But yeah, it would have been really stressful if we had even gone to the concert, like knowing that, she was during a tornado warning and stuff at home and all that. Like,
yeah, and there's also going to be like the inherent like worry of like we don't do this
exactly.
So you're thinking about that the whole time.
Yeah, it would have not been a fun experience basically while we were at the concert. So I'm very glad that it panned out the way it did. So thankful for that. So yeah, Sonic, haven't seen it yet, but
Will
soon.
eventually. But
Yeah.
also, I'm tired of these movie studios that are like freaking placating the like anti-masker people. It's like we're
Yeah.
theater only, you know. It's like I don't
Yeah.
freaking care about like your headline of X million dollars at box office. Like you can make the same amount of money for people that are home. The theaters probably won't.
True. Yeah.
But you could, like, even if I gotta pay freaking like the price was like $30 or whatever for like a lot of the like Disney stuff. Even if it was double that, I would pay that because it costs more than that to go to the theater most of the time anyway.
Yeah, right.
So like,
Yeah.
just put it on freaking Disney Plus or HBO Max or whatever.
Yeah. Agreed. Plus, you get your own food and drinks. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Alex said, "I finally get to watch Batman next week."
True, because it's going on HBO Max.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. I think I said this before, but I watched it in the drive-in. But I was wrangling Ezra pretty much most of the time, and so really, Ashley, Mitch, and Catherine watched it, and I sat in the other part of the car just dealing with it. Crazy old baby. And
I'll probably watch it, even though, as I talked about the last time we talked about Batman, I am caring less and less about Batman as time goes on.
Yeah, Batman comes up in my script for the video next week.
Nice.
So interesting stuff. All right, and the next question or thing, let 64 about the Switch Pro upgraded Switch, that kind of thing. Said, that's tough. I want to say Switch Pro, but after realizing the average console life cycle has been around 5 or so years, a successor could make sense with Zelda and a new Mario later in the year. Either way, I expect something next year, and Breath of the Wild 2 would be a fantastic way to launch new hardware in either case.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, we
Just
talked
with
about
the-
it. We talked about it to death. That Nintendo says that this life cycle is going to be longer. So I feel like it is probably going to be longer.
Mhm. I mean, you know, I think as far as Breath of the Wild launching with hardware, you know, like new 3DS launched with Majora's Mask and like some other, or yeah, Majora's Mask 3D and things like that. Like it's definitely happened before that Zelda.
Like I think also another part of it that we didn't really talk about is like people brush off the stuff that Nintendo says in these meetings because they're like, oh, they're just trying to keep the stakeholders happy or whatever. Right. But I feel like that makes them less happy than if they were like, yeah, dude, new hardware. You know, like the Series X came out, that's doing great. The the PlayStation 5 came out and that's doing great. And we're going to come out with a new thing and that's going to do even better. You know, like that sounds better than we're just going to stick with the same thing that people are complaining about. You know,
or
like
even if they were like cagey, you know, they were like, well, it's being talked about, then people would be like, Nintendo said it's being talked about to do new hardware, and then
exactly. But them like
long term
planting their feet in the sand, being like, nah, man, we're sticking with this platform, says like a lot more than like this unproven Nintendo DS platform is going to be a third pillar. And I feel like that's what everybody goes back to, where they're like, oh, well, they said that the Game Boy Advance, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, but that was a platform that succeeded in the face of platforms that were not succeeding for them. You know, like they had GameCube and that was failing and falling flat on his face. And that they had the one thing, Game Boy Advance, that was doing well for them. For them to say, we're dropping another platform, you know, after we have another platform that's not doing great or whatever. It's like, nah, it's fine. It's fine. If this one fails, we still have Game Boy Advance, you know? Yeah. But there is no other platform. This one Switch platform is doing great for them. So, and all their other like branches and stuff are doing pretty good. So for them to like try to hedge bets doesn't really make sense in that way, you know?
Yeah, it's true. So there it is. All right, moving on to questions from Twitter. Unless there's anything new, I'll check real quick to see. No, we're good. Got everything already.
There was one update.
To what?
To Mitchell's question.
Gotcha. Oh, gotcha. on yours. Here, if you just grab that and stick it in there.
I mean, Mitchell just basically said, I listened to the podcast from last week and you explained it. So I know.
The question was, why were we called Fanatics for when there were just the two of us? But yeah.
Which was in the podcast last week. I feel like that should be a separate timestamp.
Yeah.
So we could just refer people to that.
Yeah, or just post that on Twitter and put it as like a pin the video for a minute.
Nah,
It'd be very
I think
confusing.
I think that like
No,
that's
it's too late for that for sure.
Yeah, it's too niche of a thing now, and will become even more of one going forward.
Exactly.
So it would be easier if like the like one out of every 1,000 person that asks us that, we can send it directly to them rather than be like, hey everybody,
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Bianca asks, if you were a Pokemon, what nature would you have, and would you want your trainer to use a mint on you?
I gotta look at the natures, because off the top of my head, I can only think of the ones that are good.
Pokemon natures. I also need to look them up because I can think of many fewer than you. And the mints just changes your nature, right?
Yep.
Would I want? I mean, I don't think I would want a trainer to use one on me, because otherwise, why am I picking one? Unless if I really trust my trainer, then sure, whatever. Then they know me better than I know myself, is what I'm assuming, because
they're a human and you're a Pokemon.
I'm just a dumb old little monster.
That's a fact.
This is a personality test on a Friday. Look at that.
I mean, I think it depends, like, because I'm like multiple of these, but like it just depends on the situation.
Are we just going by their names, like personalities? Okay, we're not going by because I think I would have a lot of special defense.
I don't even know, what does that mean?
I have no clue. I'm just making sure.
That's why I was assuming that it was because like off the top of my head, probably adamant, probably that. But like sometimes I'm relaxed, sometimes I'm
What's the
hasty.
difference between relaxed and lax?
I think lax is like lazy.
Okay, gotcha. I see.
No, lax is like go with the flow. I'm also that, dude.
Yeah. That feels so similar to relaxed, but I mean, they do what they do.
Free from tension and anxiety for relax, and lax is not sufficiently strict, severe, or careful.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
So like
that makes sense.
That's like
loosey goosey kind of in that sense. What if it just had the definition lax, loosey goosey? Yeah,
that's probably the Windows version of the because I just force clicked. That's how I'm getting the definitions. I'd say adamant.
Cool. Yep. So the options are adamant, bashful, bold, brave, calm, careful, docile. None of those I'd say particularly for me so far. Gentle, hardy, hasty, impish, jolly, maybe jolly. I don't know.
I think jolly works.
Lax, lonely, mild, modest, naive, naughty, quiet, quirky, rash, relaxed.
Naughty
sassy.
Is cursed.
Yes. Very agreed. Honestly, maybe lax also, just as opposed to relaxed, because I'm not as particular about things as I probably should be, but we're going jolly.
It depends on the context, man. But I feel like, especially like in the sense that I'm trying to go with like the ones that people would like that are the most likely that like viewers would see me in that context, right? Because like on camera, I'm not freaking relaxed most of the time, So like they're like,
we could get deep on some
no.
of these too. And like, well, I mean, there are times that I feel,
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm
like,
saying. So like, I think that like
bit,
the way that
Jarrett.
I took that question is like the online persona, as it were, I guess.
Yeah.
This is the one that I think relates the most is adamant.
Yep. And likewise, if Max seeing me as greedent has anything to do with anything,
True,
jolly it is.
Yep, that's a fact.
All right, Kate had another part of her question. I split up her question into two, and this one's down here. She asked, also, do you think there will ever be another handheld like the DS/3DS, or do you think that spot in Nintendo's market is just filled by the Lite now?
Yeah, I think it's filled by the Lite.
Yeah,
I think because really the only reason why they would have a handheld now is it's the entry point. You know, it's the cheap entry point.
mm-hmm.
And the Switch Lite does that. So
Yeah.
there's no real reason for them to have a whole nother platform. And also it like splits their output, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yes. That's the thing that I've thought about the most is that like at this point, they've consolidated their studios already. So they would have to like unconsolidate them, and like handheld stuff can be 1080p, 720p, well, you know, like HD stuff, basically. So like the distinction would be kind of weird where like the home console ones are just the same ones, except for a couple that are way stronger and better looking, and you know what I mean? Like it's
the closest that they get to like having a reason to like split their output is mobile. And that's because there are literally billions of mobile devices that they can, you know, target there already that they don't have to worry about selling. But like having a whole nother platform, you have to build the user base for that, and then also build the games for that. And then that's a catch-22. It's like, well, you got to build the game so you can get the user base, but you have to have the user base to justify building the games when you already have this user base of over 100 million people that you could just be making the games for instead. You know.
Exactly. And I think honestly, as far as like, do you think that spot in Nintendo's market is just filled by the Lite now? I think it's also just filled by the regular Switch. Because like, you know, the number of, there are definitely a lot of people that had a DS and 3DS as like a, what's the word? Like a something buy where you just
impulse buy.
Thank you. You got it. Just because it's like, it's $150. Why not? Sure. Go for it. But then also there's plenty of people that played them to death and just like, you know, are core gamers, and that was the console that they preferred. And that's, you know, that spot exactly is still taken up.
I guess I'm more so just took it as like what the place is that makes sense for them currently. And the like purpose for the 3DS when the Switch came out became like maybe first console, you know? And I think Switch Lite kind of takes care of that, and the regular Switch does too, because I mean we've seen it a lot where when consumers, especially for Nintendo for whatever reason, when consumers are faced with two options, they spend more money on the other option, you know? Like they had the basic version of the Wii U for no reason because everybody bought the premium version. That bought when they were buying premium, you know?
I mean, I guess unless the premium is that much, you know, like if you have a 3090 and a 3090 hardcore whatever or something like that, you know, sure, I could see at least going for the middle one if there's three or that kind of a thing. But more often than I think you're exactly right that like if it's not that much more and the features are that much better because of it, upgrade for sure. I mean, I've also seen it with like my wife asked for several years ago an Amazon Fire tablet for Christmas, and her dad got her an iPad because it was like, it's what you asked for, but better. And I think that's, you know, that's the way a lot of us think, because consumerism and stuff.
Exactly. But also like in a way it's kind of like the opposite of that in that scenario, because like the Amazon tablet is cheaper, yes, but it also it's not, because they are it's a razor blade thing. It's like, oh, we got you now we can sell you more Amazon things. You know, whereas with like an iPad, like the app store is there, and you're gonna spend money and give Apple money some of the time, but I can't even think of the last time I downloaded an app.
I mean, and the other thing too is like there's
especially one that I paid for.
Right. Yeah. This is a tricky thing with like the poverty line and those kinds of things in general, where like if you have less money, you spend more money in the long run. It's the whole thing that we see with like what student loans and stuff like that, or like if you can only pay your minimum amount on your credit card, then you're going to be paying tons of money, as opposed to like if somehow you get all the money to pay all of it, then you aren't paying all the extra money. Similarly, if you buy an Amazon Fire tablet now because that's how much money you have now, but you know eventually you're going to get the more expensive thing, better to save the extra $100 and just get the more expensive thing, so that in the long run you're not spending money on two things. Yeah, economics or something. But yeah, no, I mean,
also don't fall for the 99 and 95 trap. It's still $100, dude. You know, it's the same thing.
True.
That's unrelated, but for giving economics lessons, that's an important one.
Yeah, sorry, he said that's exactly how my camera gear went. Yeah, and Trev said it's almost like society is set up to help rich people. You know, true. Almost.
It's true. It's true.
It's gross.
That's why we have NFTs, dude.
Yeah. To something. Gags asked, do we get the long-rumored Nintendo Prime remaster, and when does it release? Also, Metroid Prime 4 trailer this year.
Did you say Nintendo Prime?
I might have. I don't know.
It's like, what?
Alex said yes. When do we get Prime?
Cringe.
Metroid Prime is what I meant to say.
Metroid Prime.
Mm-hmm.
I think we do. I think we do.
I think so.
Metroid Prime 4 trailer. I don't know, because it's entirely dependent on if it's ready. I don't think they do that again. I don't think that, like, you know, just to like hold people over and be like, here's Metroid. Like, we're not getting a Metroid 4 trailer, a Metroid Prime 4 trailer, unless they feel like they need to do it. And there's no other reason to need to do it than to be like, this game is done and it is coming out in 8 months or whatever.
So controversial opinion.
No, you're about to say something dumb. No.
So dumb. So I feel like in the same way that they knowingly showed Breath of the Wild too early, I think Metroid Prime 4 is a game that they also are liable to knowingly show too early, and not too early in like that it will reflect the final vision and stuff. But whereas every other game, like Smash, even, they're like 9 months, it's coming out, like it's March, it's coming out in less than 9 months, it's early December. I think most things are within that window or shorter. I think Metroid Prime 4, like Breath of the Wild 2, like Breath of the Wild 1, is a game that they will purposefully show with a 1.5 to 2 years window.
I agree with
Breath
that,
of the Wild 2 was way longer than they meant it to.
Also, that's the thing. Like, I agree with that. With like that being the intent. Like, they showed Metroid Prime 4 and they're like, this game is 3 years out or whatever, right? But then it was not. So then they're like, oh shoot, well, we did that already. You know, like they already blew that. I think that is probably going to be like a longer lead up than most of their games, but I don't think that they're going to do over a year.
Yeah,
I think there's like no shot for that.
Yeah, I mean, and that said, I could also very easily see Metro Prime 4 coming out next year at this point. Like, you know, it feels like in some ways, like the way my brain is wired, it just feels like every next year feels like, no, that's too soon, it's going to be longer than that. But like, theoretically, I could keep thinking that forever, because that's just the way my brain is thinking about that game. It's like that it doesn't have an actual release date. But that said, you know, yeah, 2023 feels like a perfectly reasonable time for it to happen. Yeah.
Eric said, let me have the controversial opinion. We can't let Parker get canceled. I can take it.
Yep. There, I appreciate it. Thanks for almost taking the fall for me. Here we are.
There it is.
So yeah, no, but I mean, I think I agree. Metroid Prime remaster this year, and I think Metroid Prime 4 trailer this year, because I could see
could happen, but I just don't know. I can't say, because again, I don't know. I don't know who's developing this game. Like, if it's just retro, you know, I don't know if like all these like hire for like them hiring new like lead designers and like all this stuff,
which they haven't done in a while at this point. So that's something. or unless I'm just not paying attention to it, which is also possible. The one thing I will add is that even when they announced Metroid Dread, they mentioned Metroid Prime 4. So if I mean, this is, a little bit tinfoil hatty, but I feel like they don't want anybody to think that they've forgotten about it or that there's trouble
or that
with it
it's
or anything like
canceled,
that.
because
Yeah.
that is a retro studio thing.
Yeah.
That is a curse of theirs, that they
Indeed.
work on games for a long time and then they're like, nah, it's not panning out, dude.
Yeah.
Which is weird. It's so weird because
Mhm.
like I don't know. There's like no other studio like that, where like maybe
Maybe it's
Valve
just
is the one that
yeah.
comes the closest to that, where it's like they just work on stuff for forever, and most of the stuff that they make or most of the stuff that they work on gets canceled, but there's still like this like lauded, like
Yeah.
highly,
Because the only
like,
ones that actually come out
treasured.
are the like
Yeah, exactly. Like they only come out with like bangers.
Yeah.
So it's like they're like the only studio probably on the planet other than Valve, because they're freaking, like big
Yeah.
rich because Steam, that can just do what they want and it's just fine for
Yeah, it is
for
weird.
forever. Their last game was in like
Mhm.
2013.
Yeah. It's definitely weird. Yeah, because I mean, I think some other teams might just have like internal stuff where it's like it gets canceled, but we don't know about it
Mhm.
or whatever. But even then, I don't know that it gets as far as the ones do at retro. Where
Yeah,
it feels like
and
probably they
there's
get
so many of them. Like it's not
yeah.
even just a thing where it's like, oh, there's 1 or 2 games that got canceled. No, there's like whole channels worth of like this game got canceled. They were working on this Kid Icarus game. They were working on this football game, and they were working on, like there's so many games
Yeah.
that they work on for so long, and they're like, nah, it's not panning out. Let's move on to the next thing. It's like, like what?
Yeah, no, it's weird, but yeah, so I think that's the whole the Metroid Dread and them mentioning Metroid Prime 4 and that kind of stuff is what makes me think that whenever we see another Metroid thing, like whenever we see a Metroid Prime thing specifically, they're going to at least mention Metroid Prime 4, but I think they give us something for it. And I mean, I've thought that thing for a while, like that combination of things, but we've just never seen it yet. So it's, yeah, I've been wrong about the timing. Absolutely. But I don't know. We'll see if it pans out practically.
We shall see.
Yep. So I guess skipping Mitchell's question, because that was about the next for it, and he knows and everybody else knows. Yeah,
I don't know what this means.
I don't know either. I'm gonna change it. What's your favorite variety of meat? Like, steak, hamburgers, that kind of thing.
To be clear, asked this question. I mean, he said,
Yes.
what's your preferred method for meat consumption? I don't know what that means. I have no idea. And I asked him, like I asked him the thread, and he didn't clarify. So I don't know. I have no idea what it means, but he said, what is his favorite type of meat? What preparation? What did you say?
Sure, yeah.
Did you change it to
favorite kind of meat? Like pork, beef?
No,
chicken?
absolutely not. Probably chicken. Chicken probably
is good.
Chicken or beef, but like probably chicken.
Yeah.
I eat more chicken.
Very versatile.
Yeah,
for what it's worth. I mean, also pork is pretty versatile.
Yeah, but I don't really eat pork. Like there's like I don't like completely not eat pork. Like if there's like pork in something, I'm not going to be like, nah, man. Like I'm not that like that much off. Like on that. I'm not anti-pork, but I just generally don't eat pork. So it's like,
Yeah. I will say bottom tier turkey. Turkey.
True. Turkey is super mid. Super mid.
Yeah, it's not worth. Other ones, venison. I feel like I've had a couple times before and it's been fine enough, but it like, just feels like a knockoff beef.
The only time I've ever had that is freaking like when I'm specifically like at my dad's house.
Yep.
And he has like a friend that like he like freaking goes hunting or whatever. Like, oh, I made venison jerky or whatever. Like
that's that
type of stuff. But like never have I ever been like at a restaurant or like eating regular food and even thought about venison.
I'm pretty sure same. I know for sure venison jerky because one of my roommates in college had he bought a big old dehydrator because his cousin went hunting and only had room in his freezer for half of the prepared meat, and so gave the rest of it to my roommate. And he was very particular about, he would like make the jerky and give it to people for free, but like was very particular about who it was given to. And I was like,
That feels like a pipeline of some sort. It's like the same type of person that eats like venison or like makes venison jerky, also like brews their own beer.
Oh, he 100% brews his own beer.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That is an archetype, I'm telling you.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Plays disc golf, if that it funnels into all of that too. But yeah, no, I was literally talking about exactly that in reverse order.
Is that Trev? Wait, is Trev realizing that
this person does not live in Portland?
Yes, true. Portland, living in Portland is also like, that's like they're like the higher level of the archetype. They prestige and they live in Portland.
Yeah. Oh wait, I think I left.
You freaking, did you go to listener?
I clicked on a different, I opened it in a new tab and made a mistake. I'm back. I've returned. So yeah, that's fair. Yeah, chicken. I'll go chicken too.
Yeah, chicken.
I don't know. Different days, chicken, pork, and beef have different purposes of things.
Yeah, I feel, see, the thing is, well, not for pork for me. Pork is like literally the only time that I eat pork is like if I get pizza, and I like, that's pretty much it. That's my pork consumption. But for the most part, I don't even like bacon. Like, I don't like any kind of bacon. I don't like turkey bacon. I don't like none of that. I just don't like the seasoning of, I don't like the taste of bacon. But other than that, it's like, I don't like pork chop. I don't like, it's just not really any pork thing that I like.
You know what? And I will say too, like, because I bacon's fine. You know, I'm not going to go super out of my way for it, but I was literally about to say, Trev, exactly that. Like, I was going to say that was like such a thing, and like
I get people less so now. Yeah, but like every time I've ever been like, I don't like bacon, it's always like, I offended this person.
Yeah,
for saying
I don't like only kind of meat there is.
I'm like, yo, get a grip. I don't like bacon. Period.
Yeah, man. So that, but I think
bacon.
Probably towards the top for me as far as pork goes would be like pulled pork for like, pulled pork barbecue or whatever. But like, you can accomplish that with chicken just as easily, and it still be great. So. Yeah,
like even that, like I probably had pulled pork like once every 3 years.
Like, I live in the South. So
yeah, exactly. Yep. Exactly.
Something like that.
I feel like pork in general is more common in the South.
I think so. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So yeah, chicken. Good job, chicken. You did it.
That's true.
And lastly, from Discord, Trev is going to get controversial a little bit. No, so this is a good question or comment and kind of thing. I want to start by saying I'm not comparing the two. Having said that, one of the only things I personally found more enjoyable about Elden Ring over Breath of the Wild is that Elden Ring found a way to incorporate more traditional dungeons mixed in with open world, whereas Breath of the Wild took the Divine Beast route. I never thought this bothered me until I played Elden Ring, that I do miss those classic dungeons on some level. General thoughts on the pros and cons versus bringing back a more traditional dungeon element? Question mark. I definitely have thoughts.
I don't really care because I wasn't a Zelda fan. So it's like I care more about the design philosophy of Breath of the Wild than I do the nostalgia of dungeons, because I think dungeons in the grand scheme of things are comparatively poorly designed. Because the coolest thing about Breath of the Wild is like, here are your faculties. Have your way. Like, here's everything you need to experience this game. And so much of the core design of dungeons is like, hey, we got this new thing. We're going to do the Mario thing, dude, where we introduce new thing. We like complicate new thing. We introduce maybe another additional thing to go along with the new thing. And then we complicate that. And then you fight a boss. It's like super, super formulaic.
Yeah.
But with Breath of the Wild, it's like, there's so many layers to it because they already gave you everything that you need to know, and they're able to do that and like immediately so that you understand, and then always be twisting it.
Yeah.
And like twisting multiple things because they know you have multiple options. So it's like I can design this so that you beat this with the Cryonis Shrine or whatever, right? But or a rune. But I rather do it, or like you rather do it with Magnesis in this weird way. You know, like you can't really do that, or they haven't done it.
Yeah.
And like the way that people are nostalgic for it anyway, is not like that. You know, there's not that many layers. It's just like I'm in the temple where I gotta shoot the glowy eye dude, so I gotta use my boomerang and or arrows, you know.
So here's where I land on it. It's that the divine beasts are exactly opposite of what dungeons should be in Breath of the Wild kind of formula, in that they do have the puzzle things, and they are more or less formulaic, like you said. They don't have theming, which I also noticed Trev just said, a concentrated themed area where there's specific catered experiences. I think that's exactly the thing. Is it's not, I don't care about the mechanics of a dungeon so much as like experiences in a unified area where it's like, this is like everybody remembers. Because like the world of Breath of the Wild is so big, but at the same time, if you could have 8 just sectioned off places where everybody's experience is within a similar kind of, like, the way you accomplish the goal is different, but like the feel, the vibe of the whole thing.
To me, I feel like it almost feels like semantics because like the only thing that makes the shrines feel like that is that they're contained within an area that is already that, you know, like when people are like, this is the water temple and the water dungeon. What is the difference between having a water dungeon and Zora's domain? You know, like that's a water area. You know what I mean? Like, why do we have to have
the idea that like generally when you're doing this thing, you're like, this is your primary focus, is getting through this big experience or whatever. Whereas like with Zero's Domain, you can like pop in, fast travel somewhere else, whatever. So like the narrative through the place is a lot more, I don't know, is less similar in some ways.
I think like literally the only like the thing that would solve that problem is just freaking blow the walls off of and the ceiling off of shrines, put the same puzzle there, and it's like in the middle of the desert or over the ocean or whatever, and that's what it is. And then it doesn't have the negative aspect of like, okay, I already know how this entire thing is going to play out because I got the chest and that's the item that you want me to use for this.
So that's the thing, is I don't want that to come back. I don't want the lock and key thing of the dungeons. All I care about is just like where, like, because I honestly, shrines but longer and like with unique experiences and aesthetics and stuff.
And that's the other part of it. Trev said something about the exploration. I don't feel like I'm exploring these temples. I feel like they're trying to funnel me into very specific areas. And if I don't find that area, I'm going to different things that at the end of the day are annoying because it's not rewarding to reach a dead end. They try to reward you a lot of times. Like, you got 1,000 rupees, pug, you know, but I'm annoyed because I just want the end goal. I don't care about the rupees, you know? Like if it is exploration and like you're rewarded for that, which I don't think that they can do in an enclosed place in the same way that they could, where it's like, oh man, I saw the freaking dragon, dude. I would have never saw that dragon if I didn't get lost in, you know, like that sort of stuff. But like in this temple or dungeon or whatever enclosed space, if I get lost, I'm just lost, you know?
Like, I mean, I think that's like, I think it doesn't have to be at the detriment of, you know, a dragon and all that kind of stuff. And I think from what I hear, the way Elden Ring did it generally is like, they're all optional. So you can just like straight up just not do one if you want. And like, I think that seems all in all, like that's what I'd generally prefer is that. And I watched some video that showed a thing in Elden Ring where like you open some chest and it transports you to this one area that you're like way under leveled for, and then you go out and you're in another area where you're under leveled. But it's like this interesting kind of story thing that kind of populates out of that you feel like is more unique to you than it technically probably is, but at the same time it like creates this like, it's the same as like Eventide Island. Like to me, what I want from a dungeon is Eventide Island.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what it is, right? Like that's exactly what I'm talking about. Where it's a
but
shrine,
you've only got one
but you're
Eventide
not in a shrine. Yeah, exactly. Like that's what it, like I agree with the sentiment of like like the bigger, grander, like more like varied experiences of like that I mean, like I would say arbitrarily temples and dungeons provide, but like actually having that,
right.
Like I don't like being funneled so harshly, like because Breath of the Wild in a lot of ways does funnel you. That's just good game design. Like at the end of the day, you need to be funneled on some level, otherwise you're just aimless. But they funnel you too much, and I feel restricted, and it's annoying.
Yeah.
Especially when it's like you're restricted and you're being punished because you don't know the way that they're trying to funnel you, So it's like it just ends up being frustrating. If you're not drinking the Kool-Aid and you're like, man, I love the kayfabe of this world, it's annoying.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, I would think of it as like more like a Kirby in the Forgotten Lands level where you can find all the Waddle Dees if you want, or you can just get to the end of it. And it was like, wow, that was the bridge level. I remember the bridge level, and you got the thing out of it and it was neat. And like, there were a couple experiences that, like maybe for a second, it's like, you got to fight this boss. Like you got to take a second, it locks you off for the thing, fight a boss, and then you keep going. But if you want it, there's like, this is a place where like, there's interesting secrets that are locked in it, in a way that is a little bit more, feels more eventized as a standalone thing than even the rest of the game does or whatever. So a lot less like traditional dungeons is what I'm thinking.
But also I don't want it to be like you got to fight this boss. There should be a way that like it might not have to be, or it probably shouldn't be easy to be like, I didn't fight him. What are you talking about? I never fought that guy.
Right. I mean, honestly, Hyrule Temple in Breath of the Wild is probably a good example of that too. Or like the Hinox on Eventide Island. That's
where it's like I never fought him. Well, I did, but I'm saying like it as an example. I never fought him. I just flew. I jumped on his stomach. I grabbed him. I shot the thing off.
So like, that, or alternatively, there's some Lionels in Hyrule Castle that you can like. If you go into their like gated area, then it like locks you off and you have to fight them. But you can just go around them if you want to. So I think basically all that to say, like, I think Breath of the Wild had a couple of dungeons that it did extraordinarily well. Hyrule Castle, Eventide Island. It had Divine Beasts, which were kind of, they were there. And I want more of what they already did for those two other places that I'm calling dungeons, but it's not really dungeons. Yeah.
I'm with it.
The Trial of the Sword stuff, I feel like was kind of,
that's
sort of like that too.
Yep.
Sure, I said, give me more Eventide Island or give me death. And with that,
I'm with that. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't want to go back to dungeons though. We'll say that.
Yeah,
I think dungeons in the way that they existed are cringe.
Especially like going back and playing Skyward Sword. I think honestly that game is more fun playing through it with a guide than not, which I don't love. Like it's more fun to do the things and see the neat things that they tell you about, but have next to you the option of knowing how to do stuff and not having to always figure it out and stuff. And that game was like, at least in me playing it was kind of like dungeon like back to back, which I don't know, was I didn't love. So less of that.
There it is.
There we go. That's the end of the episode.
We did it. Also, something that I never like said in the show, but like the people that have it know it because of the thing. You guys that are freaking on 32-bit people, if you want to chime in, Trev, you could have chimed in. You know what, Trev, raise your hand or whatever the thing. If you want to plead your case for the freaking dungeons, raise your hand. You could talk.
That is the benefit of things,
of being that tier of Patreon. You have the ability.
I'm not prepared.
All right. Well, be aware next time. You don't control our child. I'm just letting you know. I'm just reminding you that you have the option.
Yep.
I'm just letting you know. I want to make sure that you guys use the thing that you're paying for. But either way, if that's it, we're done.
There you go.
Thanks for listening, everybody. If you're on, I already explained the thing. If you're on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. Tell your friend. Also, I mean, we didn't do it last time, and we like randomly do it. But what's a comment thing that we should do?
Oh yeah. What's your preferred method for meat consumption? Just kidding. That's not the one. Coke from a bottle or Coke from a can? That's it could be whatever soda or whatever, but
yeah, you're doing the weird regional thing.
Oh no. I mean, I meant specifically Coca-Cola, but
yeah.
But
I think it depends on the soda. I think. Because like I don't feel like all of them are different enough to matter, but some of them definitely are.
Some of them are for sure.
So yeah, but Coke, soda from a bottle or a can, and what soda does it matter for you? Like, like if like, what is the soda that made you make the decision that you made? Let us know in the comments. Goodbye.
Bye.